Hi, I'm Miranda Cosgrove, and this is Mission Unstoppable. Coming up, discover one woman's quest to make us better humans with robots.
This is how I express happiness.
Hey, okay.
And some brains see colors, while others hear them. Stimulation of one of their senses results in a stimulation of an unrelated sense. Dr. Brain breaks down synesthesia. Then, this segment on engineering is pretty sweet, literally.
Okay, so time. Oh my gosh, is my tower gonna stand when I move my hand?
And this science is all about the smells. Learn how scent can help save Hawaiian forests. Get ready to meet the scientists, inventors, and heroes who help make our world a better place. The future is here. The mission, unstoppable. It'd be fun to have a robot best friend. But if that's ever gonna happen, we need people to make the robots more human and less like beep, bop, beep, beep. That's why we sent Nabil to meet with roboticist Ayanna Howard.
A robot invasion is upon us. These dangerous machines won't be stopped.
I am Pepper and I am learning to interact with humans.
Aw, Pepper's so cute.
Turns out I was wrong about robots. So I'm talking to Dr. Ayanna Howard. She runs the Human Automation Systems, or Humans Lab, at Georgia Tech. I guess it's not an invasion after all.
About the age of 12, I was into science fiction, and I was enthralled and fascinated. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a bionic woman, which eventually became doing robotics.
Her latest mission is to program robots to be more human-like, so they, in turn, can be better teachers to humans. Confused? I'll let one of Dr. Howard's robots show you firsthand.
Hello, everyone. My name is Salt. It is my pleasure to be here with you today. I am a humanoid robot. I can walk, talk, see, hear, feel, and even move. This is how I express happiness.
Hey, okay.
This is how I express fear.
No. Everything's okay.
And here is how I express confusion.
That's a really good impression of me. That was incredible. How long did it take for this robot to learn how to do all of that?
I would say the robot with the grad students, 2-3 months.
But role-playing isn't the only thing this robot's being programmed to do.
Let's take, for example, turn taking. I may want to teach you how to take a turn. Like, how do you exchange information? What if I gave you something? What would you do if I held out?
I would take it.
Exactly. So how do we take that interaction and teach our robot how to do that?
How will it be useful for robots to interact more human-like?
So what we know is that when a robot is emotional and can do things like sharing knowledge, turn taking, listening, I give a question, listening for the answer, the children learn better.
They teach the robots human interaction by showing them tons and tons of data. In this case, it's images of people sharing. That way, the robot learns the social cues associated with sharing, like offering food or handing someone a toy. That way, the robot learns to share and can teach the children how to recognize the social cues of sharing.
Thank you.
Whenever we have an experiment, what we do is we bring in cameras to observe people moving. And so we collect data in terms of visual, we collect verbal in terms of how we talk, because there are some cues. We look at gestures and our hands moving, and we take that and we classify what happens in the moments that something happens in terms of turn taking.
I am Pepper and I am learning how to interact with humans.
Have you found that maybe adults interact in ways that are more difficult to get data from or difficult to track?
What we've seen so far is that adults are actually easier to track, but they are different in terms of how they interact. Much more subtle.
Well, with you at the helm, I'm sure Pepper will have no trouble picking it up with ease. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayanna Howard, for having me. You have a really, really cool job. If you need any actors for the robots to watch, you know, to be like really superhumans, I'm really good at acting like I'm human. Yeah, so just hit up my agent or manager. I'm gonna be huge in the robot world.
In my dressing room between takes, I like to check in with our experts, so I asked Dr. Howard what she was up to. Check it out.
Hey, Mission Unstoppable. I want to give you an update of all the great progress we've had since we last met. We have robots interacting with kids, getting them to exercise so we can show improvement in their motor skills. And the data has allowed us to figure out how to make our robots perform better. One other thing we're trying to do is make robots at a lower cost point. This allows a robot to be used in every child's home. Access is important to ensure that we have healthy living and communities. Thanks for having me on the show. And remember, robots are our friends. See you later.
Synesthesia sounds like a cool new type of dance music. But no, it's a brain thing. Dr. Brain is going to tell us how it works. What do colors smell like? Have you ever tasted a number? If you answered yes, you may have a special brain, a brain that experiences synesthesia. Hi, I'm Dr. Brain. Okay, I mean, my real name is Crystal Dilworth, but I have a PhD in neuroscience, which is easier to call me Dr. Brain. So, I'm Dr. Brain! We understand our external world through our senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. But in a small number of people, stimulation of one of their senses, such as hearing, results in a stimulation of an unrelated sense, like sight or taste, at the same time. Synesthesia can happen in many different combinations, but one of the most common results in identifying numbers and letters with specific colors. So one might be the loneliest number, but for some people, it's also a lovely fuchsia. How does synesthesia happen? One explanation involves cross-wiring between the areas of our brains designed to process sensory information. The regions of the brain that handle hearing, sight, taste, and touch are all located right next to each other in a part of the brain known as a sensory cortex. As babies, we start out with all of the neurons in our brains really highly connected to one another. But as we mature, the connections that move information frequently between brain regions get stronger and stronger, and connections that are used less get weaker and weaker, in a process called pruning. But in a small number of people, this pruning might not happen as efficiently or in the same way. And if connections between the regions are retained, cells in them could be activated simultaneously, resulting in dual perception of sensory information. So how do you know if you have synesthesia? After all, you might not know that your sensory experiences are any different than everyone else's. Synesthesia is rare, but it might be genetic. So if anyone in your family has it, that increases the likelihood that you may too. There are many tests you can take to determine if you have synesthesia. A test subject is given a set of objects and asked to describe their colors, tastes, textures, personalities, or any other involuntary sensory association that pops up with each object. After a set period of time, the same objects are presented to the same test subject, and they're asked the same questions again. There's usually too many objects for a person to memorize, but a subject with synesthesia will assign the same characteristics to the objects in the second round as they did before, because that person has permanent neural associations in the brain between the object and the sensations they describe. The word synesthesia comes from parts of speech that mean a union of the senses. And I think that's a beautiful way to describe what it is, a merging of sensory perception. And a brilliant reminder that even though our brains are made up of the same essential materials, we're all a little different in our own ways. I hope you all found this enlightening, and for a small percentage of you, maybe even delicious. Bye.
In show business, they say the show must go on. Normally, it's when something bad happens, but we've been doing great, so let's just keep going. There are a lot of jobs that make the world a better place, like nurses, firefighters, people who bring you tacos, and industrial engineers. These engineers look at complicated systems and manufacturing processes, finding ways to make them better, faster, and safer. Today, we're learning more about industrial engineering from Tayah Allen, a student at the University of Central Florida.
When I was in middle school, my mom was actually studying industrial engineering at the same school that I'm going to right now. So I was able to go with her and sit in on just a couple of her classes. From that moment, I really knew that industrial engineering was just a great fit for me.
At UCF, Tayah joined the school's section of the Society of Women Engineers, bonding with other students who felt the same. The Society of Women Engineers is the sponsor of today's segment and is dedicated to building community and opportunities for women engineers across the country.
Every year, the Society of Women Engineers at my university hosts a marshmallow building competition where they give out different pieces of pasta as well as jumbo marshmallows, and you have to build the tallest marshmallow tower you possibly can. Today, we're bringing the design competition to my siblings so I can show them what it is that I do as an industrial engineering student.
We're calling this competition the Mission Unstoppable Marshmallow and Pasta Industrial Engineering Showdown. Okay, maybe that was too much.
I'm Tevin. I'm Tayah's younger brother.
My name is Shanika, and Tayah and Tevin are both my younger siblings.
The siblings are given 1 minute to plan and prep their tower. Next, they're given a minute to build their creation. But industrial engineering is all about streamlining processes to make things better. So the siblings will get a second opportunity to improve their builds.
Are y'all ready?
Ready.
Let's do this.
Now, in 3, 2, 1, go.
I wanted to place the marshmallows at the base of the tower.
I mean, it's marshmallow and pasta, so how hard can that be, right?
That means time is up. Hold up your designs. I think they're gonna realize pretty soon that what they have on paper is gonna have to adjust. We're gonna put another minute on the clock so y'all could actually build these towers. So in 3, 2, 1, go.
There is no time for games. I just had to focus.
When I was looking at my sisters, I realized I have a great shot.
Okay, so time.
Oh my gosh, is my tower gonna stand when I move my hand?
At least mine is not falling. My sister's is, so.
Do y'all want to know some ways that you could make this process?
Yes, please tell me.
You both use the extra large marshmallows. Those may be a little heavier. Maybe only have those on the base. Just completely get rid of pasta as the base and just use the table as the base. Has more friction on it, right? Use smaller ones as you start going taller and taller.
Okay,
I see what you mean.
I see what you're talking about.
I see what you mean.
So they're definitely thinking of it more in an engineering sense, which is really exciting. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so in 3, 2, 1, go.
I took the advice that she gave me, and now I feel pretty good building this marshmallow tower.
There is no way that I'm gonna let him beat me, and I am so nervous.
Just seeing them reach for different size marshmallows this time, they're really understanding the essence of this project. All right, and that's time.
I'm so excited. It's standing.
Honestly, I think we're all winners because they learned a little bit about what it is that I do.
Initially, I thought industrial engineer were a bunch of math people, but I think I understand exactly what they do now.
I believe this world wouldn't function without engineers.
This is what the Society of Women Engineers really is about, finding solutions to problems that you're presented with. So the fact that they were able to see it in action and it clicked for them was just super exciting. Yeah!
Fungi aren't plants or animals, but sometimes they can be real jerks, like the fungus threatening the ecosystems of Hawaii. Good thing there are scientists like forest entomologist Kyle Roy trying to save the day.
Some bugs are good. Bees pollinate plants, butterflies are beautiful, and ants have a couple of good ideas. But not every bug is great. In fact, some are pure trouble, like the ambrosia beetle. Here in Hilo, Hawaii, it's attacking native trees and therefore endangering the entire rainforest. I'm gonna meet up with Kyle Roy, a forest entomologist, to find out more.
I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I didn't always know that I was gonna study insects, and I kind of just fell into it. To be able to work and do this as a job is a dream come true.
Today, I'm on the big island of Hawaii at the Waiakea Forest Reserve.
The heart of this forest is the ohia tree, a keystone species that not only provides habitat for endangered birds and insects, but also is often the first plant to bring life to lava flows.
So you're a forest entomologist. What does that mean exactly?
I actually just literally study insects in the forest. We have a lot of invasive species here in Hawaii, and right now I've been working on studying these invasive ambrosia beetles. This is a tree, ohia tree, that has died from a fungal disease called rapid ohia death. They've killed at least 1 million trees in Hawaii so far.
Wow.
So there's still a lot of nice forest left, but we would like to prevent them from turning into a graveyard like this place.
So what's happening here?
We're actually testing a beetle repellent, so it works just like a mosquito repellent, but we're trying to prevent the beetles from attacking the trees. So these are the beetles here on sticky cards. Right here you can see this is actually the beetle repellent. These are actually vials containing ethanol, which is an attractant because it simulates tree stress, and that's what brings in the beetles.
So the scent of ethanol attracts the beetles, they get stuck, and then you can track how many are coming and whether or not this is working.
Yep, exactly. We want to prevent them from creating this frass.
What is frass?
When they're creating their homes, they're chewing up wood and kicking it out into the environment. In there can be viable fungal spores, and that's how the disease spreads. So you can just see like how much frass they are making.
Since stopping the frass and the fungus depends on the beetle repellent, Kyle studies its volatiles, or smells, in her lab. This lets them know how long the active ingredient lasts in Hawaii's humid environment and how often they need to reapply it. A vacuum attached to this airtight chamber pulls air through a special filter.
This is actually going to collect all of the smells onto it.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, a smell vacuum.
Yeah, it's a smell vacuum.
Kyle also captures the smells of the trees themselves, like this ohia tree that's been infected by the fungus. Capturing these volatiles lets Kyle study the chemical messages trees send out when under attack.
We're hoping that it could eventually lead to early detection before there's any symptoms.
And create like an early warning system.
Yeah.
So now that you've collected all these smells, what happens?
We're gonna insert it into a machine called a GCMS. It's a gas chromatograph, which is coupled to a mass spectrometry machine.
A gas nope. No. What does that do?
So it actually just vaporizes the compound. That way we can actually identify the different compounds that are coming out.
The repellent is a relatively new approach to fighting the fungus. But by studying the beetles, perfecting her techniques, and discovering ways to detect infection early, she hopes to stop the spread of the disease and ultimately save the critically important ohia forest on the island of Hawaii and beyond.
Welcome back. Before we go, we have one last thing.
When you really believe in yourself and you find something that you truly love, whatever it happens to be, just pursue it wholeheartedly.
Even your passions, or what we call hobbies, can still be integrated with STEM to solve real social, large problems.
The field is getting a lot more diverse, and we could use more diversity because when there's more people with different ideas, we can do better science.
That's it for this week's Mission Unstoppable. We're trying to book some squirrels for next week's show, but their prices are nuts. Bye! If you're watching this, you must have really liked the video. Make sure you follow and subscribe, and check out these other videos that are even better. No, really. I've seen this one over 100 times.